game is just played. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm for you! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. I am Chris, and of course, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing well on a Friday Eve. Guess what? Looks like Draymond's going to get a vacation.
Draymond is going to get a well-deserved vacation, Mo. And we had a lot of people in a lot of areas talk about Draymond Green yesterday. And Mo, I'm going to take a stance here, and it may be an unpopular stance, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay being the unpopular opinion in the room. But the way that the national media was talking about Draymond yesterday, but more importantly, the way that the players were talking about Draymond. So I can't pronounce his name. So the gentleman he just knocked out recently.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he said that he doesn't know what's wrong with Draymond, right? And then
Nurkic.
Nurkic. And then Kevin Durant comes out yesterday and says that he hopes that Draymond gets help, right? And the way that players are referring to Draymond, I hope that Draymond has a team around him, because it's setting itself up to be a redemption story. And I know that people don't want to hear that, Mo, but I don't know what he has going on mental health wise. I don't know what he has going on in his life. But the way people are talking about him taking care of himself and getting help and using this time to get right, it is literally setting itself up for him to go take some anger management classes, for him to go do some of the mental health stuff, for him to make it very public what he's doing to better himself. Sure. And then in 20 or 25 or 30 games or whatever it is, whatever the NBA deems is worthy, if he puts the right spin on this and he comes back to the NBA and just stops assaulting people, then he has himself a nice little comeback story. And, he should probably partner up with some sort of foundation or a society and, be a like it's all right there, Bo. Now, obviously, he could not lean into this. He could not lean into this at all. And he could just, go the other direction and make it seem like he doesn't have an issue and this is just him being him. And it could go totally the opposite of that. But my argument this morning, Mo, is that the way the narrative is setting up, the way that his NBA brothers are talking about him, and the buzzwords and the keywords they're saying, I feel like the carpet has been laid for him to go away for, however long he's going to go away for, publicly do some things so we can see that he's, making an effort, and then kind of have the red carpet laid out, so to speak, for him to come back as a changed person if he wants to lean into this. Now, if he chooses not to lean into this, Mo, I don't know what it looks like for him coming back to the NBA, because I don't know how the NBA lets him back in if he doesn't lean into this.
I think Adam Silver is a very calculating commissioner. And I think that Adam Silver, Chris, is laying the groundwork for this to be a redemption story. I think most people thought after what they saw, Draymond's going to get at least 10 games, right? Some people said 7, 10 games. I feel like it should have been more, honestly, because this is a pattern of behavior with him that goes back years. But what's crazy is people are like, well, Silver only gave him like 5 or 7 games for when he choked out Gobert. And I was like, right. But that was Silver going soft on him, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Remember, just in last season's playoff, he stumped Sabonis in the chest. Remember that when he stumped on Sabonis? We're just 25 games into the current season, and he's choked out somebody, and then he just Russian sickled somebody, and they're talking about like, well, why is Silver trying to make an example? his behavior is actually escalating in the negative way. So my thing is, when you hear the word indefinite suspension, to me, that's Adam Silver not actually making a decision, because indefinite means, well, he might be gone 25 games. Or you could say he's getting some therapy, he's getting some anger management, and he could be back within 7 or 10 games. And I think if he's back within 7 or 10 games, that's kind of disappointing. That's Silver being who I think he is. I think Silver is he's too player friendly. He wants to be liked much more than David Stern ever cared to be liked. David Stern didn't care. And with Draymond, you're right. It could be a redemption story, but let's be honest. His reputation also is he's either one of the most smartest, cerebral, high basketball IQ players in the history of the NBA. So if he's that, but he does these things, I don't think, and I don't want to make light of mental health. I don't think Draymond's crazy or has mental health issues. I think he has an element to him where he's kind of a punk. And that's not him having a mental health issue. He's just a little bit of a punk. That's part of who he is. Yes, he's their tough guy or their intimidator. But these incidents, when he does these things, they're random. And to me, they don't make sense. Like his example was, well, he was holding on to me, and so I wanted to get him off of me. Most people would just push the other person, right? You're touching me, you push him or whatever, you shove him. Somehow he managed to make a 180 punch. And then he tried to sell the flop afterwards. Like, I wasn't trying to hit him. Like, of course you were trying to hit him. I hope it's a redemption story. I hope, and really, it's more of an act. But if Draymond buys into the idea that you can turn this around, you can be a positive. Who's to say you couldn't go on all kind of shows and have speaking engagements and talk about anger management and how better to control yourself? All that can be very, very real. But
and I almost feel like that's what we're gonna see, right? I feel like in order, and again, we don't know how much of it is a show. We don't know how much of it is legitimate. We don't know really what his deal is, except for the fact that he, like you said, he seems to really overreact aggressively in situations that weren't that aggressive before he became aggressive.
Right.
Which is not normal. That's not a normal situation. So is it him just being a punk and him just, that's just who he is? Like he's going to get you before you get him, even though you weren't thinking about getting him? Like, is that his mentality?
What's the first thing he said in the press conference? He said, well, I'm going to be me, right?
Right.
Already on the defense, I'm going to be me.
And it could be a situation where you see him on talk shows and you see him talking about anger management and you see him talking about, finding different ways to have an outlet and to channel stuff. And if you don't like Draymond, anything that he does moving forward, you're not gonna think it's legitimate. So any mental health conversation he has, anything he says about anger management, anything that he says about changing himself, if you already don't like Draymond Green, you're gonna have a hard time buying into any of that because you already have an opinion of him, and it is what it is. Just like if you are currently a Golden State Warriors fan, I see Golden State Warrior fans defending Draymond Green. You can't defend the man. Nothing that he has done this season is really defendable. So if you're on either side of the spectrum, you love him because he's on your team, you hate him because he isn't on your team and all other crap that he does, you're probably going to have a hard time finding middle ground to accept whatever the next step is. But at the end of the day, Mo, for the NBA, there has to be a next step. The NBA has to be able to wrap their arms around something from a PR stance to say, look, we made a decision. We suspended him indefinitely. Here's why he's allowed back. He did A, B, C, D, E, and that's why he's being welcomed back into the league. And when he comes back, if he does A, B, or C again, he knows there's going to be a consequence for it. And that's the other part of this, Mo. He can do all this stuff to come back, however long it's going to take. But once he is back, he can't do the old Draymond stuff. And Mo, there's going to be guys he plays against that are going to push the buttons to see if they can bring back the old Draymond, because now, and rightfully so, but that's going to happen. And how is he going to respond to that? We don't know.
That is the test. You brought up something that is so clear and so real, that when he comes back, when guys are playing the Golden State Warriors, you don't think guys are going to whisper, "So you got some problems upstairs, huh? You got some problems." you guys are going to say things like, "You want to take a swing at me? You want to take you know better than to take a swing at me, because you know what'll happen." Like, I guarantee he'll get tested. Yep. And that's tough for him because he runs hot already. So I hope that when he does come back, he finds a way to smile and just jog down court. Like, I know what you're trying to do. No, it's not going to happen. Like, it's easier said than done, right? We hope he can focus on basketball. But that's been a challenge for him. And I want people to know, this is not us banging on Draymond Green, not acknowledging the terrific career that he's had, what he's meant to the Warriors dynasty. He is part of that core. It's him, Steph, Clay, Steve Kerr. That is the core. But I also think that maybe it's frustration, and that's why he's escalating. This Warriors team, they're no longer at the top of the league. They're no longer one of the teams that people go, "Who we got on the schedule? Oh, no, I don't want to see those guys." They're not one of those teams. Teams look at them and see them on the schedule. We can get this win. And this is a different time, and this franchise is going through a change. And I think that we're looking at the end of the dynasty. So there's a frustration, not just throughout the team, but Draymond Green himself. I hope he can come back and just play basketball and focus, because he's had a great career, and you don't want to see it end on a sour note. But to me, the challenge will be, Chris, no matter what he does while he's away, what happens the first time you start running a little hot? What happens when a ref goes, "No, that was a block, that wasn't a charge," and Draymond gets up and he's yelling at the ref, and the ref's saying, "Go on down court, I've already made a call. Can he disengage and walk away?" Those are going to be the challenges for him going forward. And like you said, this will be the challenge for him for the rest of his career, because if there's another kick or punch or whatever, now we're talking about, well, you're just going to be gone for about 60 games, or you're going to be gone for an entire season. And at this stage of his career, Chris, he's 32, 33 years old. He can't afford to miss an entire year of his career. So I think that's going to be the challenge. Will this time away, and I like what you said about the redemption story, will this time away actually help him?
And that remains to be seen. And Mo, we can't ignore the fact that when it comes to dynasties, and the one constant when it comes to sports is Father Time always wins, right? Sure. I would argue the second most constant is that dynasties don't end gracefully. If you look across all the major sports at all the major dynasties, there isn't this graceful bow out period where you go from being a dynasty to not being a dynasty. Usually it's a steep fall off, and usually it happens pretty quickly. And I think the Warriors were fortunate to get that last NBA title in a situation where not many gave them a chance to do that going into the season, much less during their playoff run that year. But that was basically the last peak, it looks like, because it's been steep, it's been quick, and this Draymond stuff is only making that snowball run down the mountain and grow bigger even faster. It's no longer what it used to be in the Bay Area. And let's be honest, if you look at the team and the ages and the makeup, it's not getting better. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. And you would be foolish to say that isn't part of it, because it is. Because you know that, and you just alluded to this. A couple of years ago, when Draymond and the Warriors took the floor, there was a swagger. And there was a fear on the other side of the court of, I got to deal with Draymond tonight. He's going to be all over me. And then Steph's going to be doing this, and Clay's going to be doing this. And no matter how hard we play, we can get up by 10, and they're going to get rid of that lead in, 90 seconds. It's all gone. The old intimidating factors that were the Golden State Warriors don't exist anymore. So now you're out there with the same guys trying to do the same stuff, and you're not getting the same response. So those middle of the road NBA guys that, 2 years ago were kind of intimidated by you, now they're trash talking you.
Right.
And they're winning. That's new for Draymond Green. He already runs hot. He already doesn't handle situations all that great. And now guys that probably shouldn't be trash talking him are, because their teams are actually the same as the Warriors or better than the Warriors now. Let's be honest, Mo, not everyone handles that well. And clearly he's not handling it well.
No, the decline is rough. You're talking about a team that for the past decade has pretty much been at the top of the NBA. And now you look at them, and I'm not going to say they're a bottom feeder, but they're mediocre at best. And you don't think guys are running by and mumbling to Draymond like, not looking so good now, you're a role player. Like maybe Poole had it right, you're a role player. They're going to test him. And all dynasties don't end well. I remember the Showtime Lakers not ending well. The Celtics, Bird Celtics, that didn't end well. Jordan's Bulls, it ended differently. They won the championship, and then the powers that be said, no, we're still going to break you up anyway. That was so sudden and out of the blue. But more times than not, most people never go, okay, we're getting closer to the end. We need to start the rebuild and get ahead of this. I've never seen a franchise do that. They almost never do that. The ending is never, it's a lot sadder than the peak of everything. That's just a harsh reality. And you're looking at the Warriors, and right now, Steph Curry is playing at a high level still, but it looks like it's Steph Curry and just a bunch of guys running around. And he's the only one playing at a high level. And that's sad because when you get a transcendent player, you want to enjoy the last few years of his career. It looks like, unless he leaves, and I don't think he is, the last few years of his career, he's going to be in a mediocre franchise. He'll be putting up numbers. He'll be great, but nobody will be talking about the Warriors as a franchise.
All right, man, let's take a quick break. When we come back, JG is going to be on the show. We're going to talk some Major League Baseball stuff. I didn't want to talk Ohtani today, but every time we stop talking Ohtani, more Ohtani news comes out. So we'll be talking to Ohtani and a couple more things. Don't go anywhere. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Sports Empire Network.
Hey, y'all, I'm Key.
And I'm Jory, and tune in to Hoop Dreams and Touchdown Queens every Saturday at 5 p.m. over on Sports Empire Network.
And don't forget, also watch us on Roku TV at Northeast Streaming Productions. So tune in.
Welcome back. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. We are joined now by JG. JG, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing this morning?
Morning, JG.
JG, I was just telling Mo before we went to break, I'm tired of talking Ohtani, but every time I don't want to talk Ohtani, more Ohtani stuff happens, so I have to keep talking about Ohtani. Yesterday, the news comes out that maybe Ohtani made one of the greatest deals in Major League Baseball history because he has an opt-out clause in his contract that basically says if the Dodgers change team leadership, I can decide I don't want to be here anymore, which is essentially unheard of in the world of sports. Yes, obviously, when a player signs a big contract, they want to play for the coach that's currently there. They want to play for the GM that maybe drafted them. They have a comfort with the people that are running the organization. But as we know, especially in football, things change, right? Coaches get fired if teams aren't winning. GMs get fired if teams aren't winning. And it just is what it is. And players usually don't have a say in that. They have to suck it up and deal with it. Not Ohtani, JG. If the Dodgers decide things aren't going well and they get rid of the head of their baseball operations or they decide to sell the team or something crazy like that, Ohtani can just be like, I didn't sign up for this, so I'm going to dip out now. What do you make of that?
And what was said in our group chat yesterday, it's the ultimate power move. As you say, there's no other player in Major League Baseball, and really there's no other player in North American sports that has ever conducted their contract as such to basically say, I will leave if anyone above me, above in the front office, leaves as well. This is it continues to be unprecedented opportunities here, and the unraveling of what this means. How's this going to affect in the future? Because you have other stars players. They're going to say, well, hey, Ohtani did the contract this way. I want to do it too. This is a Pandora's box in Major League Baseball that I don't know, and I don't know if they're ready for it. The player and I actually being for players in regards of union, I've always been a pro player for the particularly Major League Baseball union, being a former minor leaguer. I was in the minors too late now that the minor leagues have their own union, but I've always been pro player in the situations. This is a way for players to gain power back in certain ways of the CBA. And I think this is going to continue to be a structure of what they're trying to achieve. And they're going to use Shohei. The Players Union is going to use Shohei as the example now. And I think, as I've kind of said to you guys, before, a lot of infighting is going to happen with the owners because of the Shohei Ohtani contract, and the players are going to rally around it. This is going to be an interesting dynamic of what occurs over the next, let's say, 5 years, because I think that's what the CBA has another 5 years to it. I could be wrong on that, and I have to go back and look. But there's going to be an interesting dynamic of what occurs. But you have a player, a transcendent generational player, and he held all the cards of the situation in free agency. And it's something that we talk about, like Aaron Judge was kind of that way last year. And you know that firsthand, with your Yankees, Chris. But he did not have all the cards like Shohei did, not to this level. And he is setting trends every minute. Something happens, something new pops up. As you said, we're heading down a new path right now. So it's very interesting how this is shaping up and how it's going to affect the future of Major League Baseball and the contracts that are going to take place for superstar players and what this means now. And what are promised to these guys here pretty soon in their contracts now to assure that they sign. That's what this has been, is we're going to promise this, we're going to promise that. Putting a clause for competitiveness in the contract is also in there for Ohtani and the Dodgers, that if you're not building the team competitive enough, he still has an opt-out for that. And now the question is what is the definition of competitiveness? Because what if they do sign, let's just put it this way, if they go get Yamamoto, they trade for Tyler Glass now, there's your two pitchers that you bring in, and you win, hypothetical here, they win 75 games. They're not competitive now, but they made competitive moves, but they're not competitive. Could he trigger his opt-out clause in that? If they go 75, 78, and 81, and they miss the playoffs all 3 years, does he have the ability to opt out because of the competitive clause that he has in his contract? My goodness, he has all the power over the Dodgers right now to decide exactly how long he wants to be there with the clauses that are in his contract. And it makes for an interesting world, but it makes for a scary world for the Dodgers, that they have to do everything they can to win the division and win and compete for a World Series title literally every year now.
They're almost allowing Shohei to hold them hostage because there are so many different things built into this contract, JG, where if Shohei's not happy and you're not winning, or you're not making the playoffs, or you're trying to make some moves you can't be making moves in the front office now. You need to make sure that you're buying players and you have enough talent on your team to win games. You can't, it almost, as a GM, you look at it like, well, I'd love to give this player a chance to develop, but we can't be losing games while they're developing, because if we start losing and Shohei gets unhappy, he might trigger his out clause and we can't lose Shohei. So, and I know I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but this is all going to be talked about now, because you have teams where they're like, listen, it might be a down year this year, but we're setting ourselves up for the next 4 or 5 years. So we're okay if maybe we'll make the playoffs, maybe we won't. We don't know how it's going to look going into the season. We're hoping we make the playoffs, but even if we don't, we know what's coming down the road the season after that. So we're going to be fine. And you roll the dice. Now you might look at it that year and be like, we can't miss the playoffs. If we miss the playoffs, Shohei's 33 now. If we miss the playoffs and he walks, we can't have that. So it changes everything. But JG, it also changes how other teams are looking at the Dodgers. Because much like in the NFL, when the Cleveland Browns gave Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money after all the things he was accused of just to get him out of Houston, NFL owners were upset because not only did you give it to that guy, but you gave it to a quarterback and you gave him a lot of it. And now the NFL owners are like, well, great. What happens when my quarterback, who is actually better than Deshaun Watson, who actually has a resume that Deshaun Watson doesn't have, says, listen, if he gets it, you're definitely giving it to me. I'm twice the quarterback he is. What is every MLB team going to do now when it comes to when Juan Soto becomes a free agent next season? He's 25, 26 years old. Why is he not going to say, listen, if Shohei is going to guarantee that the front office is there for him and he's pushing 30, you damn well guarantee I'm going to want the same thing because I'm younger than he is, and I need to make sure that my next contract is my last contract, and I don't want to suck for 4 or 5 years in my next contract. How can they say no to him?
They can't. And that's the Deshaun Watson contract comparison is a good comparison, but there's a difference, though. There's a difference in regards because it was an unprecedented move what the Browns did by signing him to the fully guaranteed deal, which is something that, it doesn't happen very often in the NFL. It is the amount of money that was fully guaranteed, and the owners were absolutely appalled by that. And you're kind of seeing, as I said to you guys, this is essentially what Ohtani's contract, and let's just focus on the money first, and then we'll go to the clauses again. It's like I said, it's like a loan that the Dodgers took. I actually look at it now as a credit card. They put Ohtani's deal on a credit card. We'll pay now, pay some. We'll pay a small fraction now. With the later on, basically we're paying back the interest and whatnot. Later in 10 years down the road, and again, not every team can do that. Not every team has the revenue to do that. There's difference in the NFL versus MLB because that the NFL has a salary cap, MLB has a tax bracket that teams can choose to stay into, which the Dodgers are one. They choose to stay in. They cut payroll a little bit, but they were still in the tax in that tax payroll side of things, and they've been in there for quite a while. But they can handle that more and more so than the Pittsburgh Pirates, than the Tampa Bay Rays. Then the Cleveland Guardians, the Oakland A's, Colorado Rockies, they can handle that tax bracket a lot better than some of these small market teams. And it affects things so much where you're basically saying with the way that deal was structured, your small market teams have literally no chance now. They have literally no chance to get any kind of player. And it's not like Ohtani was gonna want to go to Pittsburgh. I get it. I'm not saying that, but at the end, you have chances at least until that contract of how the deferred money is being broken down. You can at least say there's a chance that Pittsburgh could be in on a deal. There's a chance that the Marlins could be in on a deal. There's a chance that the Guardians could be on a deal, regardless of realistic assignability or what that's an option. But they had a chance. Now with the way that it is, there is no chance. There is no chance that if you have a Dodgers team Dodgers or Yankees or Red Sox or Cubs, which are the big market teams in Major League Baseball, and they can sit there and say, well, I'm going to defer money basically 10 years down the road. I'm going to pile the revenue. That's what the Dodgers are doing right now. I mean, Ohtani's deal, basically his jersey sales have broken a Fanatics record for overall jerseys that was Lionel Messi set not too long ago when he signed with Miami. His jersey set a record for a 2-day period, a 48-hour period of jersey sales. They're piling the revenue going to be already right now. So that money's just going to sit and say, all right, when we get to the point in 10 years, we'll pay that contract off and we're going to be fine. The LA Dodgers are going to be absolutely fine. Small market teams can't do that. They just cannot. They will never be able to match what. So that's what the up in arms is about this. And I get sports are sports. Not trying to say you want fair play. Dodgers didn't break any rules. But how do you look at if you're Manfred, if you're Rob Manfred, and I get Manfred really doesn't give a damn anything like that. But if you're Rob Manfred, how do you look at the owners of Pittsburgh? How do you look at the owners of the Marlins? How do you look at the owners of these small market teams to say, hey, you have a chance? They don't. And then, like I said, you throw in now the clauses that are thrown in there is that we're going back to the competitive clause, and then also basically, hey, the general manager leaves, or if the owner decides to sell, or if the manager decides to leave, I'm going to opt out. That's just more of a reason for big market teams to stick around, because again, we see the small market teams. We see Miami change. The general manager Kim Neese, she left in Miami. Cleveland, Cleveland's gone and has got a new manager this year. These small market teams change. They do change. They're looking for something that can at least help them be competitive. So you're eliminating them in a different aspect on top of the financial reasons too. So this is a big Pandora's box, and I don't know if Major League Baseball is ready for it. And I think this is going to cause, like I said, a lot of infighting at owners' meetings here pretty soon. And if that's the case, if I'm going to talk about players' union and being pro-player, you're going to see a big power struggle here pretty soon as the CBA comes back, because the players, they're about to gain a lot more power back as the owners are fighting all this stuff with Ohtani.
JG, Rob Manfred doesn't have dinner with the owner of the Marlins and the Pirates. Come on now. He's not dining with those people.
No, of course not. Even when Derek Jeter was associated with the Marlins, I guarantee he still didn't. He still looked at the Marlins as the kid table type of ownership. So
for sure. Last thing I want to talk about this morning, JG, where is Glasnow going? We heard his name heating up the last couple of days. There's different teams that are being thrown around. Nothing seems super concrete yet. What's your feeling on that?
Glasnow, it's obviously for the Dodgers' perspective. It depends on what happens with Yamamoto, and they haven't really, from what I've heard and read so far, there's not been a cut down on the list of teams of Yamamoto sweepstakes. You still have the Dodgers, you still have the Yankees, you have the Red Sox, you have the Cubs, the Braves have kind of been quietly involved in it as well. And there's a couple other teams that are
apparently
involved.
He's not even talking money yet. He's just whining and dining right now.
By all means, enjoy it. Enjoy the aspect of it, and kind of going back to what we talked about as far as the free agency side of things and how things were with. I mean, these Japanese guys, they're enjoying. They were enjoying this. And Yamamoto is absolutely enjoying this. So yeah, why not? But there hasn't been a cut down on the teams. There's still 7 teams involved with Yamamoto, and talking about the Ohtani situation that was kind of freezing free agency for a period, as far with the top bats like Cody Bellinger, these top level position players, and what they're waiting to see what's going to happen with Ohtani, and as well as pitchers too. Yamamoto's freezing out the pitching side of the free agency because Blake Snell is still out there right now. Then you have the guys who are waiting to be traded: Tyler Glasnow, Dylan Cease. Like, they're all sitting and waiting right now to see what team is not going to get Yamamoto so that they can go and start getting their direction. But in regards for Glasnow, again, the Dodgers are involved. The Braves have kicked the tires and asked as far as what the structure of a deal would be. Cubs have called and asked for it. Again, the teams that are all involved with Yamamoto are still involved in Glasnow too. They're just waiting to see what's going to be the case for it. I actually kind of think that the Chicago Cubs are a team to look to see if Glasnow is going to be that is available for them to make that move. Because I think it's going to be a 2-team race with the Yankees and Dodgers at this point for Yamamoto. And I think if that's the case, you're going to see, again, unless the Dodgers defer money to Yamamoto too, which, my goodness, they'll have $100 million of deferred money in 2034. If that's how they want to structure that one too. I can imagine that's probably something that's going to be discussed at one point. But if the Dodgers do or sign Yamamoto, you're going to open up opportunity for the Cubs to go after Glasnow. I think that's the team, because I think the Braves are still going to try to go get Dylan Cease from the White Sox, and Cubs need pitching. And they have some prospects that they can make an enticing deal with the Rays, and I think that's where he ends up going with the Chicago Cubs.
If I'm Yamamoto's representation, I walk into the Dodgers meeting. I write on a little sticky note, I want the Ohtani deal light version, and just slide it across the table. All right, give me $350 million, all the perks. I want all the same perks of the contract. Just make it half the money, and we're good to go.
Well, I probably have to add, if Ohtani opts out, I'm opting out.
That's right. That's the only additional one. If he leaves, I leave too.
That would be the only addition. If Ohtani's going, I'm not staying either. So, I mean, and what can you, if you're the Dodgers, what can you can tell them no?
Right.
You've made your bed. You've made your bed in this. So you're gonna tell Yamamoto, hey, no, we won't give you that deal, but hey, we'll get something kind of close to it. No. And Ohtani, who was, the Dodgers met with Yamamoto just recently, and Ohtani was in the meeting. You don't think he's sitting there saying, "Hey, yeah, look, I want him here, and you're going to give him the similar deal than what you gave me, and you're going to deal with it. And if I'm not happy, he's not going to be happy, and we're both going to leave. And guess what? You'll return, because at this point too, Freddie and Mookie's getting older; they're in their 30s and whatnot. By year 3, year 4, if they decide to opt out, and you have an older Freddie Freeman and older Mookie Betts, Dodgers might be fearful that they could be looking at what they were in the late 90s and early 2000s, where they weren't as competitive as what they've been. That's a future right now that the Dodgers are trying to prevent, is that time period where it was, the Giants were the team in the NL West. That's something that they're staring at right now. They're trying to prevent. So, and again, as long as the ownership they have right now sticks around, the money they're spending, they're gonna be fine. But to assure that the happiness of Shohei Ohtani is there, you're going to have to give Yamamoto what he wants to make sure that happens.
JG, we always appreciate having you on here, sir. We'll see you next week.
Definitely, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all too.
Mo, always a pleasure having JG on. Let's bounce back to some NBA stuff real quick before I get into to the comments that Cam Newton made, which I think you also affects your fandom as much as it affects my fandom.
Sure.
We'll jump to Cam in a moment. Interesting situation in the NBA last night. Giannis hangs 64 on the Pacers. He sets the Milwaukee franchise record for the most points scored in a single game.
Right.
And this is the third time these two teams have played in about 17 or 18 days. So they've seen a lot of each other. Things got a little chippy at various points throughout the game. And then there was this scuffle, this hoo-ha that took place at the end of the game where we didn't really know what was going on. Giannis was yelling at people. He was clearly upset. He ran down the visitors' tunnel and disappeared for a few minutes. And the cameras were still rolling, kind of wondering what he was doing, where he was. Then he emerges a little bit later, still looking visibly upset. And it turns out he wants the game ball. And he was upset that the game ball was taken by the Pacers. Now, context to this story, the Pacers took the game ball because they had a rookie last night who scored his first points in the NBA. And it is customary in the National Basketball Association that when a rookie scores his first points of his career, he receives a game ball. Just like it's customary when a new head coach wins their first ever NBA game, they receive a game ball. So last night when the rookie goes into the game about midway through and he scores his first NBA points, the Pacers personnel acknowledges the fact, hey, we got to get that ball. That's his ball. He gets the game ball. He just scored his first points. At the end of the game, Giannis wants the game ball, we think, because he just set the franchise mark for the Milwaukee Bucks for the most points scored in a single game. So we think he wants the game ball for himself. Turns out, not the case. He actually wants the game ball for his teammate, Dame, because during the game, Dame passes Kyle Korver on the three-point made list, and according to Giannis, that's more worthy of a game ball than it is for the rookie. Mo, you cannot have a two-time league MVP and one of the faces of the NBA currently, and some might say the best player currently in the NBA, trying to steal basketballs from a rookie. I'm sorry. I don't care what his reason was. I literally do not care. The rookie had the ball. At that point, go flex your power with the league behind the scenes and make them take the ball from him. You can't be the one that takes the ball from him.
Yeah, the funny thing is, initially, I would have said, yeah, I get the idea that the rookie scored his first NBA points, and that's a big thing. I would have said, though, the two-time MVP scoring his franchise record for points in a game trumped that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the rookie might score 2 points, and that's a big deal, and he might go on to have a great career, or he might not be on the roster next year. But Giannis isn't going away, and he's going to be a Hall of Fame type player. I can understand it from that point of view. When he made the case that he wanted the ball so badly, not for himself, but because Dame passed Kyle Korver, which is a thing, but it's not like he passed Kyle Korver to become the all-time leading three-point maker. Korver is behind Steph, and he's behind Clay and behind Ray Allen. I keep going. So I didn't really buy what Giannis was selling when he went that route. To me, it was simpler than this. The Pacers have beaten the Bucks twice, and one of those times was in the in-season tournament. They just have their number. And last night's game, Giannis was angry. He came out angry. The Bucks were being very physical. I think they saw what the Lakers did, and they were playing bully ball. So it got chippy between the two teams. It's become like a semi-rivalry. So him chasing down the guy afterwards, like you said, you can't do that. If you want the game ball, or if you want to make a thing of it, talk to league officials or get with your guys who deal with the league officials and have that conversation. I actually saw the interview in the post game, and the reporter said, "Did you ever get the game ball?" And Giannis said, "Oh, they gave me a ball, but it's not the game ball. I don't think it's the same game ball. It doesn't feel like the game ball." And I was thinking to myself the whole time, you know it's not the game ball, because the Pacers know what you were doing, and they're just being just as petty. They're like, "Oh, you need a ball, Giannis? Hold on a minute, bro. We'll be right back. We'll be right back with that ball." And they gave him a brand new ball.
And both the head coach for it's interesting because they both kind of had a chance to kind of cool down. And this is not what happened earlier in the week with Patrick Mahomes and company when they went to their press conference. Right. When Carlisle and Giannis went to the podium after their game, they were both saying things like it's an unfortunate incident. I wish it didn't escalate to that point. Still both, standing their guard. He still said he wanted the ball, and he talked about how, you need to appreciate greatness, kind of like Patrick Mahomes did with Travis Kelce.
That's the theme, right? Greatness.
That's the thing, greatness. When he said that, the greatness in this moment was Dame, moving up a notch on the 3-point list. Like you said, okay. Are we? I guess we're celebrating, and I have no idea where he is on the list, but I didn't know that going from like 8th to 7th or 12th to 11th was that big of a deal.
He's not 1 or 2. I can tell you
that. So, but apparently it is in Giannis's eyes, and that's fine. Stand up for your guy. I get it, but sir, you don't make those decisions. You're not paid for that. You are paid to play basketball. You are paid to go out and do what you did. You dropped 64 on a team that, like you said, Mo, has had your number the past couple of games, kind of embarrassed you a little bit because you're supposed to be better than them. So I get it. You came out, you played angry, you set the single season mark in your franchise. That's awesome. Don't go bully the rookie and steal his ball. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You went and you tried to steal the basketball from a rookie. Handle it behind closed doors. Throw a temper tantrum behind closed doors, right? Call the league and be upset about it and say, you need to go. You know who I am? I'm Giannis. Go get my damn ball. Right. Yeah, do that when the cameras aren't on you. Right. Because I'm sure there's enough people in the inner workings of the NBA. Someone could have made that happen for you, right?
Well, they could have tried, but I think they could have got the same thing. Like, "Oh, you want the ball for Giannis?
We got you.
Hold on a second. Give us a minute." They would have got a brand new ball too.
And, people are saying, well, if that was LeBron, if LeBron wanted the ball, he would have had the Mo. First of all, LeBron ain't going to steal a ball from a rookie on national TV.
He's not.
All right. And even if LeBron wanted the ball, you wouldn't have known it because he would have had a quick conversation after the game. Hey, where's the ball? Oh, the rookie has it. And he would have said, okay, and walked away. And then if he really wanted the ball, he probably could have made it happen through back channels, right? He could have paid for the ball. He could have offered to do something for the kid.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Like, if he really wanted the ball, you're right. LeBron would have got it, but he would have gave up something to get it because, I don't know LeBron, but I'm willing to bet LeBron knows the kid earned the ball. He scored his first points in the league. Just like I know somewhere LeBron has a ball from the first points he scored. Giannis has the ball from the first points that he scored. They do this. Why are you trying to take it away from the
Right.
kid?
And the thing about LeBron that's great about LeBron, he's too PR conscious to do what Giannis did. Like you said, he would have done it in a way where it wouldn't have been a story.
Right.
We're not having this conversation because we wouldn't even know about it until somebody said like years later, like, well, there's a funny story about LeBron. And that's how it would have came up because he's too savvy that way. He would have said, no, I'm not going to have that look on me like I'm trying to take a ball from a rookie. So it is different. And you know what? I don't like how the Bucks went about. The funny thing is the petty did not end last night, Chris.
No.
At some point, Rick Carlisle alluded to, well, one of the Bucks players elbowed our general manager. Like they just kept going on and on. So whatever's going on between these two teams, it's not done yet. Giannis is too big. He's too big of a star in the league to be going that route. Like you said, you have trainers. You have a lot of people you could go to have that conversation with and go, hey, could you go see if I can get that game ball? Because I really want that game ball for Dame. Again, like I said, and I'm going to stick with this theme. You go to the Pacers locker room. Hey, we need that game ball. Hold on a second. We got you. And out comes the brand new spot. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen because they're going to look out for their guy, and rightfully so.
I respect Petty Mo. I lean into it a little bit. If I'm the Pacers, the next time I play the Bucks, right before they come out onto the court, the entire Bucks bench is going to be lined with brand new game balls with ribbon on them. All right, so he can have all the balls he wants. Right. I'm that guy. Like now, granted, he might drop 70 on you that night because he's so annoyed, but if you want to be that petty over the ball, we can have fun with it.
I actually like that idea a lot. I do. I mean, you know what? If you're going to keep the petty going in that way, and like I said, remember the Bucks are the older, more established team. This is a young Pacers team. They're probably like, this guy is running behind us. Right. Really? what's wrong with this dude? Like it's a non-story. It's a story that should have been a non-story.
100%. Another story that I don't think should be a story, but Cam Newton wants to be famous again, apparently. Cam Newton is in the news because he decided that he was going to spew the hot takes from Cam Newton that Dak and Brock and Tua and Jared Goff are game managers and not difference makers. And I understand where the initial reaction comes from here, Mo, because Cam was a league MVP. And I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm going to say some things about Cam Newton this morning. But one thing that I am not going to take away from Cam Newton is the fact that he was a league MVP. But, Mo, I also want to say this about Mr. Cam Newton. His career completion percentage is under 60%. Okay? In his 11 seasons in the NFL, he only had a winning record 4 times. One of them was the 15-1 MVP season with the Carolina Panthers, where they went to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl, so okay. I mean, the other ones haven't, but he's there with you on that. If you take out the MVP season in which he had 35 touchdown passes, oh, by the way, every season he played in the NFL where he played more than 5 games, he had double-digit interceptions. Okay. Take out the MVP season where he had 35 touchdown passes. He never passed for more than 24 in a single season. His average numbers through his career were about 21 and 12 for his touchdown to interception ratio. Mo, the only thing I would say about Cam Newton is that he ran the football, and he did it damn well. But that's not what these other 4 quarterbacks do. And when you look at Brock and Tua and Dak and Goff, I mean, let's just go through all 4 of them. Goff took a team to the Super Bowl, and Cam had 4 winning seasons. I'm pretty sure if the Giants finish with a winning record this year, this will be his 3rd or 4th himself. Now, none of the other quarterbacks have gone to a Super Bowl, but they've all had more regular season success than Cam Newton has had, minus winning an MVP. Oh, which, by the way, who are the MVP frontrunners this season? Dak and Brock Purdy. And statistically, if you take out the rushing factor of it, all these quarterbacks, passing-wise, which, by the way, that's what a quarterback does, They've all had better seasons and are projected to have better careers than Cam Newton had. So, Mo, what is Cam Newton really saying this morning? Because are you trying to say they're not Patrick Mahomes? Because I'll give you that. They're not. But to try to diminish them and say they don't make a difference in the game, to me, is ignorant. But maybe I'm not understanding his point of view this morning.
No, and here's the thing about what he said. The words that he said, they're true. There is a difference between a game manager and a difference maker. That's actually facts. Mm-hmm. There's a difference. And when he listed the name of the players that he was alluding to, I thought, because I'm always cautious to anoint somebody early in their career to what they are, I was cautious about Purdy, but I think Purdy's a legit quarterback. I'm not saying he should be right up there with Allen and Mahomes and Joe Burrow, obviously, just because of their body of work, right? You need to see 3 more years of what he's doing now, right, to say he's one of those guys. That's fair, but that applies to everybody. But I think he's more than a game. I think he's proving he's more than a game manager. And I feel the same way about Dak. And I used to think, I'll be honest, prior to this season, I thought Dak was a high-level game manager. I thought that if everything was right around him, then he could help them win games. But if you've seen what he's done this season, they've won games because of Dak Prescott. So it's easy for Cam to take shots. I get it. But like you pointed out, he didn't have a lot of winning seasons. And when you look at his numbers, what really stands out, what makes him a difference maker, was the fact that I think he had 7 seasons where he rushed for 500 or more yards, right? That was the key factor, like the dual threat. And he was unique in that because he was so big, he could run between the tackles because he was bigger than most defensive ends. So he was a difference maker in terms of being a playmaker. I don't think Cam Newton was a great quarterback. And I always thought, what happens when the athleticism wanes? What will he look like? Well, we saw what he looked like when he wasn't as athletic, when he was banged up. He wasn't very good. I think these guys are all good quarterbacks. There's levels to where I think they're at, but I think they're more than game managers. And by the way, being a game manager doesn't mean you're not a good football player. I think, like people say, they turned it into a bad thing, but Jimmy G is a game manager. But if you look at his win-loss record, he won football games. As a game man, he was very good at that. Put talent around Jimmy Garoppolo and a competent offensive line, he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but he's a very good quarterback who's capable of taking you to a Super Bowl. He's done that, been there, done that. So I don't think game manager is a bad thing, even though basically what Cam was doing was looking down on them as if his career was so much better. I think his career it peaked really fast and then it slid even faster. I think there's a reason why Cam Newton will not be in the Hall of Fame. He did not have a Hall of Fame career.
No, 100%. And also, I mean, it's only fair to point out, if you're looking at the body of the career, Cam Newton as a starting quarterback in the NFL, he had a winning record. He was 75-68-1. He was 7 games over 500. If you go through and you look at the 4 game managing quarterbacks that he just listed, they all have better winning percentages as starting quarterbacks than he did. Now, granted, they're all in different parts of their career. Jared Goff is 63-49. He's played a ton of games. He wins 65% of his games. Tua is 30-17 as a starting quarterback. He wins 67% of his games. Dak is 71-39. He's at 67%. And of course, Brock Purdy is 15-3. He's at 70%. So literally, if we're not talking about the rushing side of it, and none of these quarterbacks that he listed have a running element to their game.
Right. That's not part of their games.
If you take that out of the equation and you only look at just being and I get it. That was part of Cam's game. So Cam Newton fans are going to say, well, you can't just take away the running game. Like,
Sure.
you can't take away the deep ball from Patrick Mahomes and say, look at all the – I get that. But if you're trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison, you have to look at what they all do. You can't just be like, well, they don't run, so Cam is just automatically better because he ran for almost 6,000 yards in his career. Okay, well, let's look at the other stuff. He won Super Bowl. He didn't win it. He had 4 winning seasons and 7 losing seasons. All these other quarterbacks, they're better in those areas. So I don't know what metric you want to look at. Sure, did it in individual moments, could Cam Newton make a big highlight play, a difference maker play, individual play in a game that maybe Tua or Brock Purdy can't make? Sure. What does that result in, though, Mo? It's not resulting in championships. It's not resulting in winning seasons. It's not resulting in playoff appearances. So what are we really saying? That Cam Newton's a better highlight reel quarterback? Because he is. And if that's what we're saying, I'm fully on board. His highlight reel is better than their highlight reels, 100%. But is that really worth bragging about?
And he's great in short yardage for what it's worth. I believe he had like 75 touchdowns.
He
rushing
did.
the
Incredible.
football. Yeah, that's insane. So I do think at his heights, he was a difference maker. It's how sometimes we conflate certain players. At Michael Vick's height, he was a difference maker, but he was never a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And with Lamar, he's kind of in the in-between. We know Lamar's a difference maker. I think Lamar's a top 10 quarterback. Now, there are other guys who are better passers of the football, but everything that embodies Lamar makes him a top 10 quarterback and makes him a difference maker. I think, like I said, Cam's career, it's crazy to say it was short because when I hear that number again, 75 rushing touchdowns. Mm-hmm. That's insane. I don't think it was as memorable as he thinks it was. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, and look, he is an MVP. I think he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's All-Pro once or twice. So he's done things that these guys haven't all done yet. But a lot of them are at stages of their career where just keep watching because their story's playing out. Tua's going to make multiple Pro Bowls. I think Purdy, only health could deter him, I think, from making more than his share of Pro Bowls. And at the end of the day, one of these guys may very well be the MVP, and they'll be tied with Cam for the amount of MVPs that he's won. So I just think he could have took a better way, or he could have just stopped that. There is a difference between game manager and difference maker, and not put names out there
and call yourself a difference maker.
Right.
I'm a difference maker.
Right.
Other guys are game managers, and then let us fill in the blanks.
Right.
Let us finish that narrative. You didn't need to finish the narrative.
I'm with you 100%. That's all he had to say.
Mo, we got football tonight. Someone's got to win the game. Nothing really is on the line to play for here besides draft position this evening. It's the Raiders and pride. It's the Raiders with their backup quarterback. It's the Chargers with their backup quarterback.
Wow.
I'm going to go Raiders because their backup quarterback's been starting longer. That's all I got.
I'm going Raiders just because let's put the nail in Staley's coffin. You know
Tonight's
what I mean?
Nice.
Let's finish it up. And I will watch the game
because
that's what we do. I will watch the game. I'll be honest, for as long as I can stand it. And then we'll talk about it, of course, tomorrow.
Maybe we'll be surprised and we'll get like a first quarter like in the Patriots game where points are just flying around.
That I did not see coming. You're right. You know what? These two backup quarterbacks might get into this great shootout and we'll go, oh my God, that was like Elway in Montana.
Yep.
Great.
All right, Mo, close us out, sir.
Thanks for everybody in the chat. Love and respect and appreciate all your support. Check out all the great content they have to offer on Sports Empire Network. Check out the Empire.
We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. We'll break down everything that happened in the Raiders and Chargers game. Plus, we will make our picks for the upcoming week in the NFL. Who knows if they'll be right, but we're still going to make them. All of that and more tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you
about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, you guys any